And now joining us is Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. Mayor Bass, thanks so much for taking the time. President Trump says that if he didn't send in the troops, your city would be burning to the ground right now. His words. There were arrests for violence, like throwing a Molotov cocktail at police officers. Did LA authorities have the situation under control?
Yes, and I will tell you something. He sent out a message Saturday night saying that the reason why the protests and the vandalism was quelled was because of the brilliant work of the National Guard. The National Guard was not even in Los Angeles. They had not even been deployed at that time. As your guest previously said, and I so appreciated their comments, the National Guard has one mission, and that is to protect a building. And that has nothing to do with the protests that you're seeing in the streets. So that's 100 soldiers. What are another 1,000 going to do protecting one building? And then he's going to send in the Marines to do what? I don't know what these people are going to do. As your previous guest said, these are several isolated streets in downtown Los Angeles. It is not even all of downtown Los Angeles. So painting this like this is, 1992 all over again when it was citywide civil unrest has nothing to do with the situation that you're looking at now. And frankly, it's just provocative. It was almost as though the administration wanted to see chaos in the city. I appealed and said, please do not do this because all it's going to do is agitate people. And that's exactly what you're saying.
You mentioned the 1992 situation that was after the Rodney King verdict, and we saw those riots in the streets. But you have accused the administration of using your city as a test case for taking over local control. So far, it appears these troops are only guarding federal buildings. Do you see the administration already encroaching on your authority?
No. What I was referring to is they took over the authority from the governor for the National Guard. And so federalizing troops when the troops were not requested. I didn't make a request, the chief of police or the sheriff. The sheriff is the one who officially makes the request. No one asked for help. Yes, there was violence. Yes, there was vandalism. But we have a law enforcement community here beyond Los Angeles Police Department. We have sheriffs. We have 88 cities in the county of Los Angeles. So mutual aid from any of those departments could have happened, and when they were needed, it did happen. A few days later, the chief did ask for mutual aid, but we did not need national troops.
I want to play what Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said about you and your city this weekend.
I served with her in Congress before she was ever mayor, and she is a train wreck of a mayor now that is endorsing these kind of activities, has allowed her city to be completely devastated with crime, and now she's holding press conferences talking about the fact that people have the right to peacefully protest and that they're a city of immigrants. Well, they're not a city of immigrants, they're a city of criminals.
Oh, wow.
Mayor, what's your response?
Well, sometimes when such outlandish statements are made, they're just beneath the dignity of her office. And what she is saying is absolutely ridiculous. We are not a city of criminals. We are a city where crime has gone down significantly. Does crime still take place? Of course. We have a number of issues here, and we have been resolving them. But the idea that we are a city of criminals is just very unfortunate.
Meantime, more federal forces are arriving. But here's what President Trump said all the way back in 2020. Listen.
Look, we have laws. We have to go by the laws. We can't move in the National Guard. I can call insurrection, but there's no reason to ever do that, even in a Portland case. We can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor.
Again, that was his stance in 2020. So what's changed?
Well, I don't think anything has changed. I think, well, maybe this. Maybe he does not have the individuals in the White House who tried to tell him to put on the brakes. Maybe that's what has changed, but I don't know. What I do know is what is happening in Los Angeles. And until the raids stop, I am going to be concerned about fear and tension in the city, people going to work and not knowing whether or not they're going to be able to get home that evening. We have people who are showing up, who are in the country legally, showing up to the immigration office for their annual appointments, maybe sometimes even bringing their families, and then getting detained. So the raids do not help our city. We are a city of immigrants, and there are sectors of the workforce that are dominated by immigrant labor. And so the economy of our city does not need this. We are 12 months away from the World Cup, and we're trying to bring our city together to beautify our city. And look at what has happened now. The White House instigated this by having ICE raids in our city. They are telling us that they're going to have raids for the next 30 days.
Right.
So you know, then that has a whole sector of the population on pins and needles. You were talking about someone doing childcare, a nanny in an individual's home, or your landscaper, your gardener, you know, people who are small business owners, people who contribute to our economy in multiple ways. And so to disrupt that hurts the economy of Los Angeles and is the opposite of what we need to be doing to prepare for the World Cup.
We were told there were, in fact, 5 more immigration raids just yesterday alone in the Los Angeles County area. Border Czar Tom Homan says anyone, including you, could be arrested if you cross a line and impede law enforcement or knowingly harbor undocumented immigrants. Are you concerned that you could be arrested?
No, I'm not concerned that I could be arrested. And that's just an unbelievably irresponsible statement for somebody to make who I was on the phone with an hour before the statement was made. So he is referencing if I were to intervene, maybe hit a federal officer or something. It's just ridiculous. It's like the other comment that was made. Do you spend your time, responding to comments that really rob dignity out of the offices that they serve in?
If you've been on the phone with Homan or other administration officials, what is the level of coordination at this point?
Well, there's not coordination. I mean, I had one conversation with him, and again, I was trying to explain to him why we did not need federal troops in Los Angeles, and obviously my conversation didn't go anywhere.
What do local business owners need to know if ICE shows up at their workplace?
Well, I think it's very important for people to know their rights. And when you're talking about business owners, they could be undocumented as well as their employees. But you don't have to cooperate. You can, remain silent. There's a know your rights, a series of things that individuals can do and business owners. But, you've seen pictures of people around the country. I saw a man in a car. And he was waiting for his attorneys, and ICE just broke the windows of his car and dragged him out. Now, we've not seen anything like that here in Los Angeles. I certainly hope that we do not. But what is normal practice, like if you are detained, you're allowed to see your attorney who is representing you, for your family to know where you are. This is not happening in this case.
Mayor, before I let you go, there is the immigration raids, which, of course, kicked off the unrest and the upheaval. People want to resist what is happening to their friends and their neighbors and other members of the community who are contributing in their community. And then there's the issue of the National Guard troops moving in, the Marines being deployed. What do you see as the stakes in this moment?
Well, the stakes in this moment is, number one, our preparation for next year, quelling the fear and the terror that goes through families, people not sure they should go to work, kids not sure they should go to school. It's the sense of uncertainty and fear that is rampant in the city right now. And so to me, what I say to Angelenos is that we absolutely have to stand together in a time like this. We do not want to allow anyone to divide us. We have a strong history of supporting immigrants, and I, as mayor, am going to do everything I can to keep Angelenos safe, regardless of why they came here, when they came here, or how.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, thank you again for your time.